coming. Yeah.
You can do all of it.
All right, welcome everybody back to the ULCS studios where we are about to get into Game 2 between ROCCAT and Splyce. And just a little heads up, ROCCAT selected blue side.
That's not too much of a surprise. Blue side, although now there's a few more forced bans than before. We used to see a lot of red side bans and everything would have to stay the same. 7.3 brought us something different. Woohoo!
Yeah, we got to see something slightly different. I mean, it's not like NA where like the picture just like, oh, there's mid Jarvan all of a sudden.
Well, see, now that's the one that makes sense. Then there's top Vladimir.
They work well together. Yeah, but this ain't NA. It's all right. Now, ROCCAT, they definitely are feeling a little bit blue after that game because they had honestly a really good start to it for them. They kept pace with this Splyce team. They were firing back and trying to make plays proactively, but just a couple mistakes sink them, and it's so tough to see. Yeah,
and you heard the analyst let's break down some of the plays where it was ROCCAT, but just a little late. Like the setup theoretically is okay, is the types of play you want to be making on the bot side, but the timing, what your opponents have available, just not quite the same setup. So we're into pick and ban phase. And this is what we're talking about a mix-up now on 7.3. No longer is it red side, LeBlanc, Camille, Rengar. Yes, all three are still high priority bans, but Shen comes up into the mix. A lot of Jace has to still be banned as well. And as soon as red side stop banning all three, that's when you get this difference in pick and ban phase.
That's the thing for ROCCAT though. They were the ones who were banning these on red side in game 1, and it kind of gave Splyce a little bit of an edge, but their Rumble banned away. Okay.
Is ROCCAT going to be the first team in Europe so far on 7.3 to first pick Shen? If indeed this goes through, that would, however, leave Varus available. That would potentially leave a couple of jungle picks like the Graves available for Splyce if they wanted to Graves Varus on their first rotation.
Well, still some seconds ticking down for Splyce to ban away, and that is the Rise ban. Let's see if your prediction comes true.
I mean, that's what that Rumble ban hints at, is that ROCCAT want to early rotation a tank. Or at least get Wonder off that Rumble. I mean, that I think is less of a phase 1 ban unless Splyce are looking to pick it later on in the side. So ROCCAT, okay, it's not Shen.
All right. I know you were looking forward to that, but unfortunately in this first part of it, Shen is irrelevant.
Well, he was in 7 of 9 games this week so far, so
that's true. He was,
and
even more with the last game including.
Yeah, exactly. Up until today, but there's the obvious return of the Jhin. So now we look at Graves. We look at that Shen that is still available. Karma, if they want to take it away from ROCCAT, as they had that in the priority in this very spot in the last game.
But they went for an early game jungler last time around, and they'll do it again. This time, Trashy goes with the Kha'Zix, so it's more of a 7.2 kind of ban phase.
Maxlow can still play Lee into this. Lee Sin into Kha'Zix is as good a match, is an okay matchup. It's not great. If Kha'Zix face checks into Lee, Lee basically wins. If it's the opposite way, you kind of end up on the receiving end. Graves is the farming and damage matchup that goes into it as well, and I actually quite like this out of ROCCAT. Fast tower pushing potential. We've seen just how much lethality Graves can do, and I like these first 3 picks out of ROCCAT. This draft so far, a lot better in my mind.
All right, so an improvement over the last game. Now, Splyce, they have one more pick available for themselves. Are they going to round out? I was going to say the support before those pools start getting pinched, but it looks like Suncooks is still interested in locking in that Corki mid, and he does.
So Corki, because they don't want it to get pinched away, blind pickable mid laner here, and with no focus on the top lane so far, this is where maybe ROCCAT try and pinch a little bit from Wonder's champion pool. Splyce, however, are going to answer with some of Betsy's champions. They've already taken away the Ryze earlier. Now the Syndra goes off the board. Tahm Kench may see a ban out here, but of course ROCCAT, if they pinch the support pool, they're also pinching their own. And if Splyce end up picking the strongest remaining support, ROCCAT end up without any more options.
Yeah, so it kind of is a catch-22, it seems like. They're going to ban the GP away instead. They want to focus on Wonder. The Cassiopeia's banned. There we go.
Yeah, Cassiopeia banned that GP in response to the Shen, now taking away the tank versus tank matchup. Interested to see where Wonder goes on this. We, of course, saw Wonder bring things like Kled into the league.
But we haven't seen this in Europe, at least not in the European LCS, but it's been around the world. The Singe gets locked in, so he does get a tank to play into the tank.
He does. We haven't seen Singe.
Finally, I get to cast a Singe game.
I think that might be the worst. I'm joking. You've been looking forward to Singe for a while. So we're looking at supports. Karma is still available in this draft should ROCCAT want it, with the Varus high poke potential. Depends if they want global presence as well. Maybe you go the Tom Kench.
And they're going to block a safe mid lane. I mean, it makes sense when you've already blind picked the Corki. You go ahead and take something that can team fight well, that can play it safe out as well. So the Orion is locked, and now looking for support. That Karma is still up, as you said.
Yeah, it is. ROCCAT still have time in order to get it. And then we're looking for support from Splyce at the same time. Of course, Mickey always has a couple of different things. We saw the Jin Scion in one game. I don't think it's going to be this one.
That was a fun game last split. I mean, it really was a really creative thing, and it didn't win the game, but it worked out quite well for him.
The problem here, if you don't get some kind of block or sustain, like a Braum here, to block out a lot of the damage from Varus, Varus Karma just pokes you down, so that Tom Kench is a little bit trickier to actually pull off.
I suppose that's the case, and Mickey actually had some pretty crucial counter engages last time around, so Kabi and he have gone back to the favorite from last game, but things have mixed up a little bit on the other side with the Kazakhs and the Singed for Splyce. So, ROCCAT's composition, it looks pretty team fighty. Looks like it's going to be scaling up pretty heavily as well. What is Splyce going to do to work against that?
Well, Splyce is fairly, we're going to go out into the other lanes and just try and clear minions. That's all we're going to do for a while. Just try and be out onto the side lanes with the Corki, with the Singed. You got good disengage from the Braum, and that Kazakhs can move stealthily between the lanes and try and help out as well. So it's a very interesting setup. I'm looking forward to seeing how this game goes through. As you said, we haven't seen Singed. That's a matchup we're going to have to watch out in that top lane.
Well, it has been played in a number of other regions. I was wondering, a lot of people wondering when it was going to make its way to the European LCS. But the answer is finally it's going to be Splyce bringing it out. Game 2, they're trying to put this one away 2-0. On ROCCAT's side, they're going to need to overcome. They've had a real rough time of it as late. Not been able to find any match wins here in Europe. With 5 weeks into the split, that is definitely not where you want to be, but there have been glimmers of hope. We've seen them have good early games. We've seen them have good mid games. We've seen them even take a few games off teams like Fnatic. They took a game off of Giants as well earlier on in the split. But against the upper tier teams, it just hasn't been good enough to really do much of anything. And up until the start of this week, Splyce, they looked like a team that was similarly struggling, finding a few more wins, but not having a whole lot of consistency. That seems to have changed a bit by being able to beat Fnatic, even if it was a very close one.
And that win over Fnatic, I actually feel like locks Splyce into playoffs, almost.
I feel like a win here definitely would.
Well, without a disastrous result, you can't expect Vitality or Origin to pull off wins against the top of the other group. That's just almost impossible in my mind. So with Splyce taking a win over Fnatic, they've done something and put distance between the bottom of the table. Vitality have only won one series, Origin haven't won any, and Splyce, with a win in this game, put themselves to 4 series wins.
Yeah, it's almost out of reach at that point. I mean, you have to then worry about, okay, when we get out of cross-group play, start facing off against our own teams. Well, you know, if you're a team that's in the relegation zone or just outside of playoffs, it's going to be harder and harder to try and come back in with teams that are riding high and have a big match differential.
And that's the thing for Splyce as well, is they actually, apart from G2, have completely winnable games for the rest of the split up until week 10.
Yeah, it's a good schedule for them. You have to be happy if you're Splyce.
Just to update everybody, we are remaking picks and bans with the same champions. The same champions. We had just an issue with the lobby, and nothing untoward. It just means we're delayed by about a minute.
We weren't going to say it, but we ran out of music.
Well, people are like, why are they still talking? Normally we have the game up by now. And
And people always say that to me personally, but I mean, that's a whole nother story.
But yeah, importantly, Splyce don't face off against Unicorns and HOK until week 10.
Yeah, when when you've already pretty much locked in, you have to you have to be like really, really happy about the fact that you don't have a whole lot of tough opponents going forward. Sometimes it's luck of the draw when you get your schedule at the beginning of the year, but this is great for them. For ROCCAT's side, I mean, almost every team is rough to deal with if you're ROCCAT, let's be honest. But, you know, Splyce was one of the more winnable games that they'd have up next. They're going to have Unicorns in week 6 when we come back after IEM week. On the other hand, they have Origin and Vitality, so maybe that's where they can kind of break through, because a lot of those teams are in the same boat. Yeah,
exactly. I feel like ROCCAT against Origin is a more than winnable game. I think it might be the only series of this split that ROCCAT is legitimately the favored team going into. Vitality is probably about an even matchup. But all 3 teams have struggled, and you know it's such a desperate situation now. You look at the challenger teams that are chomping at the bit to get up into LCS. Like Schalke look so much stronger than some of the bottom LCS teams. And of course, maybe that's a placebo effect facing other challenger teams.
We might see come the promotion tournament things are a little bit different. But I think you're right. I think this is one of the years we've really seen a big divide between the very, very bottom teams in the European LCS and the ones, and pretty much everybody else.
And that's from the two-group system. Honestly, when you divide the weakest teams into two groups, the weaker teams are going to look weaker because you only have like maybe one other not-so-good team to play against. Other than, you know, in previous years, you'd have 4 teams that would just take games off each other at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, they only have one chance to do it, and this is the cross-group play to make it happen. So ROCCAT, they desperately needing to find some points to be able to climb out of that relegation zone. It's looking harder and harder. Like, that may not be the win they get today, but they still have a chance.
Good news. The timer's about to expire at the end of this remade Picks and Bans. There were no issues for the players. There was nothing like that. It was purely we had to get back into the game. So we're ready to go.
Yes, we are. Now, if you think ROCCAT can fire back and take one win to force it all the way to Game 3, get on Twitter, @LOL Esports, hashtag ROC win. But if you think Splyce closed this one out cleanly, hashtag SBY win. We'll find out as we head on to the Rift for Game 2, ROCCAT and Splyce. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're nearly there, nearly. We're just keeping you waiting. A couple more seconds.
There we go.
Uploaded it on my screen. We're going into the game.
Man, that crowd is ready. All right, here we go. So, ROCCAT. It'll be a tough climb for them. Let's see if they can beat this. I do like the draft. I know you had a lot of good things to say about it as well. Seems like they need to buy themselves some time, scaling up, farming. But for Splyce, it'll be all about the sideways.
I want to quantify as... that's hilarious.
You can take a minute.
It is not an appropriate time of year for this skin, but there we go. Mickey wishes it was Christmas every day. At this point, though, I liked ROCCAT's first 3 picks in the draft. I actually think that was super strong from them. I liked it. Varus, Graves, Shen. 3 of the strongest picks in their role. The Ori and the Karma's good, the Karma's fine, the Ori is okay. But now Splyce have thrown them a curveball with the Singed, with the Braum as a defensive play for Jhin. We saw that inevitably later on into the game, ROCCAT just could not close the distance and were completely out on their own. And if that happens again, ROCCAT are going to face a similar problem. You look at the range that they have, apart from Varus, everybody else needs to kind of get at least a little close to their opponents to kill him.
Yeah, it's true. They do have a lot of mobility, though, and you got to give it to them that they have a fairly solid, like, global positioning because they can utilize the Shen anywhere else on the map, and they can move to side waves to kind of match some of that pressure from Splyce. But, yeah, it will be hard. Forward positioning for Yarn and Madid, but it's going to be a blue buff start, so that means Trash is going to get some help from Kabi and Mickey. Won't be any chance for early action. Maybe Yarn and Wadid can try to find that early level 2. His bot lane's about as stock as it comes. Maybe a little different from the Braum, but Varus and Jhin, it's not a very common matchup. Let's be honest.
No, it's not at all. Not picked or banned in like 100%.
It's not like they're the only 80 carries
so
anyone plays.
It's okay, we lost Ashe, which means everybody else goes up in priority. I
like positive stress. This is good.
We've seen lots of different 80 carries. Tristana in the last game.
That's true. That's true. We have seen some variety. All right. So, up in the top side, Singed versus Shen. Not too big of a worry for the Singed, even though he's not really able to fire back any damage level 1. He's just going to try to focus on pushing these minions best he can.
Wonder with the shout out to Looper. Who is one of the other players that has been playing Singed recently.
Looper never really stopped playing Singed, to be honest.
That's fair, but he picked up 2 wins on it recently. He's one of the players that's been pushing the Singed win rate back up. It hasn't always been doing so well in LCK, because there are a couple of teams that were picked it, trying to play it into these tank matchups, trying to create pressure with it, and ultimately, like, Singed can have the appearance of doing almost nothing if he's just pushing things in. That's what a bad Singed will look like. A good Singed will look like he's terrorizing the solo lane, constantly shoving in, creating pressure on the map, being difficult to deal with. So we'll look at whether Wonder can be that good Singed on this game.
Or will he appear to do nothing? As he gets taunted up, he does get the flip away, and now the junglers actually spy each other up by the Grom. Maxlor gets the worst end of that.
Wonder had the laugh mechanic down. That is oh so necessary for Singed. You just run away laughing, and everything's okay.
Yeah, it's an extra part of the kit. All right, trading back down to the bottom side, but once again, don't expect any all-ins early on. Mickey does take a lot of poke damage. It's a farm edge, though, in Kabi's favor right now.
I just always laugh watching Singed because you get the first level and a half, and then you just push in, just give up as any CS because you don't care about it, because you're just recalling to teleport back in with the Dark Seal.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to really lose CS.
That's the thing, is you just keep buying Dark Seals until your potion's as useful as possible. Now your jungler ganks for you, and Faxi gets flipped right into the poison gas.
He's gonna have to get this flash off.
Like, Faxi's gonna have to play this so well to get out.
Oh, he does get a nice double taunt off.
Is the flip up?
Let's see if the flips. Nope, it's gonna be flashed away. So Faxi does play that one well, but he doesn't get out without a summoner.
Exactly, he gets out, but at the cost of his flash there, and you can see Faxi was trying to play aggressively. That ghost that was used from Wonder will be up a little bit sooner than that flash from Faxi, so there is the opportunity for a repeat gank, and Wonder just puts the poison trail down, flings him. Oh, it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be fun.
Especially if you're Faxi. He's definitely having, I think, a lot of fun in this game right now. So for ROCCAT, where they're looking to get edges on the map, seems like they're focusing on this bottom side. Maxlor's getting the buddy system from Wadid. A little more roaming out of him this series than we've seen a bit more. A lot of vision invested down on this bottom side, but what would they really do with that? That's the question.
Well, this is where, because they're so trashy on the top side, they know that they can go in and plant these wards together, get the vision control, just like game one. And what they can look for this is setting up the plays on the bot lane. Faxi's level 5 now, with both top laners having used their teleport. That Stand United at level 6 becomes infinitely more valuable for ROCCAT, and that's where they can look to make a play. If Betsy can shove Senkux in like he's doing now, create the pressure with the Orianna, and move over to the side lane, but it's going to be faster than it was in the last game.
I'm sure Faxi will be happy with any opportunity to get the hell out of top lane, to be honest. We'll see what happens. Senkux is getting shoved in pretty hard right now by Betsy, but they're both low on mana. Senkux should back away. It looks like he is. Trashy's still occupied, trying to power farm his way up, but he's on the other side now. He's trying to take away some camps from Maxlor.
And this is in response to seeing Maxlor on the bottom side of the jungle. This is just, tit-for-tat jungle taking from Maxlor and Trashy. And just as Maxlor's coming through, ends up getting spotted out on the ward, and Trashy's already running out. No real way of fighting each other this early on. To be honest, that kind of benefits Maxlor slightly in the way that he can just farm up. You can see Trashy is behind on farm at the same time.
Trashy's got the ward in, not deep enough to be able to see that Maxlor's doing this, but as you mentioned, doesn't want to fight for this one. Instead, he's just going to be going for the Scuttle Crab. Junglers took a quick trip up top, but they've not been involved for a while because that's going to be a little bit more static. Yarden and Wadid have actually moved back towards this bottom side. They're going to spy Kobby backing away. Mickey's actually in the mid, and they see him.
Now, do Splyce attack the Shen here as we're hitting level 6? It's 6 for Faxi right now. To Splyce recall out, go to the top side, and take the tower trade that we've seen a couple of times from teams. The problem is they just ran out of a wave on top side. Look, there's no wave being built up by Wonder here, so it's only a handful of minions because Faxi at least pulled the wave in, slowly cleared it out, so there's no big minion wave to push through to the top tower.
But there is a flip, and Faxi's going to be finding out he's on the other end of it once again. Still pushing the wave is Wonder. Can't really stop the Singe from farming at this point in the game. There hasn't been much attention, but Splyce have also focused a lot of their vision inside this top jungle as well, and making sure the river is clear. So it does seem like they are aiming to make that play up top side, but they are waiting to do it.
Two Dark Seals.
The count goes up.
Yeah, the count goes up.
Will we get 3? Can we get a 3? Can we get a 3rd?
Just gonna see 6.
What a build.
Well, 5 by the end of it. 6 would be useless. That would actually...
I hope they never change this, by the way. This is hilarious.
It is, but and a lot of people say, oh, well, don't you spend a lot of money on that? But just the sustain that it gives you, Singe naturally gets fairly tanky once you pop his ult as well. Yeah. Like, it sounds strange and silly to say it, but when you don't need to buy items, just buy Dark Seals and a Corrupting Potion, and then later you can build, like,
that's part of the theme of Singe. Like, just about everything is silly when it involves him, for the most part. So at 8 minutes into this game, it has been fairly even once again, but not because of the proactive plays, mostly because the teams are in a holding pattern.
Yep, they are.
500 to ROCCAT, though.
Waiting. Honestly, it's ROCCAT's prerogative. Well, it was up until now. The teleport is available for Singed. It was ROCCAT's prerogative to use some of the vision control that they had and the momentum from Betsy just shoving mid constantly to try and make a play on bot side, but they couldn't. They couldn't get onto Splyce.
Yeah, that's really what the gold difference is coming from right now. Is the fact that Betsy's been kind of punishing Senkux, pushing him in the mid, but he hasn't been able to do anything with it apart from just get a little bit of extra gold sitting on that lost chapter, still waiting for a while. Trashy clearing out his jungle up top side. Looked like he was spotted for just a sec on that ward, but now the jungler going for a very aggressive play.
And it's a fairly good gold lead already for Betsy individually against Senkux. Of course, Senkux playing on this Corki needs to wait a little longer, but now that he's passed his ultimate a couple of levels, he can clear back out, push further, and kind of deny a lot of the push potential that Ori had. And now you can see Splyce looking for a play towards bot side, but as soon as they get spotted on the ward, that's going to kind of spell the end of that play. They know where Trashy is to ROCCAT.
Yeah.
Can't capitalize. Maxwell's on the top side.
Yeah, I wanted to see Trashy get a little bit more involved in the early game. He definitely took a little while to get rolling on the Rengar, but still had some big plays once he did. So far at level 6, we haven't seen, level 7 now, haven't seen too much out of him once again. And this has been a point of critique, trying to play these junglers like Kha'Zix, like Rengar, and kind of being a little slow to make moves. ROCCAT's not punishing him for it, though.
No, they're not punishing yet. Also not punishing Wonder for the Singed pick yet either. Stopped at 2 Dark Seals. Going Catalyst. We'll end up getting, you know, the Righteous Glory, the Spirit Visage.
You go real fast.
You go fast. Trashy's going fast too.
Maxlor, he jukes away from Trashy, not taking too much damage, and he sends an end of the line flying. Command Protect on Maxlor, looking to chase him down. The Battle of the Red buffs right now in this jungle. He just gets the ward on, though, and that's the end of it.
Trashy a little too early, went in when there was still that little Raptor available, so couldn't quite get the full damage that he wanted onto Maxlor. Bot lane, though, Mickey's trying to block as much as he can from Hjanen.
Oh, they turn onto him, though, and that is a big glacial fissure. Kabi flashes away, opens the curtain call, but there's a teleport coming in, and Faxi should be able to block if what did isn't doing enough. The rest of ROCCAT have reacted quite quickly, but Wonder is trying to cause chaos in this fight. That's first blood over to Trashy. Wonder's still looking for more as he's bailed out. No, he goes right back on in, thinks he's tanky enough to survive. Hjanen with the arrow is not going to finish it off, but in comes Senkux around the back. The Frost Bomb does not land, and Betsy was right behind him there. All said and done, it's a 1-for-0.
1-for-0, gotta respect the poke from Senkux here on this Corki, but ROCCAT will back away as well. Good turnaround on the initial engage, and keeping it only at 1 kill. Splyce looked like they'd had Hjanen's number completely through the start of that fight. We'll keep a track on that, and a lot of people look at that and be like, oh, Wonder was so close to dying. Well, of course, because you will run Warlords on Varus in the 80 carry role. It's not that poking Deathfire touch. Maybe would have been enough. But at that point, it was a nice roam attempt from Splyce. Nice reaction from ROCCAT. 1 kill on the board from it.
Yeah, so with that, Splyce have actually evened the gold differential that was established in this mid lane because of the CS. Betsy still really beating down Senkux in that regard, but Senkux still making the big plays down on bottom. Let's take a look at how it happened again.
And this is just Mickey catching Hjanen at first with that Winter's Bite, following it up with autos. And then good blocking from ROCCAT to make sure that Hjanen didn't die from this, but here comes Singed. Watch how tanky he gets. Exhaust onto him immediately to try and get the rest of the team out, and it's Widid that actually dies in this one. Wonder still, of course, has that ult running. And the corrupting potions that were just ticking for him, that extra little bit of healing, keeps him alive. And ROCCAT couldn't capitalize on it. Wonder dropped so incredibly low, so frustratingly low.
But didn't die.
Yep.
That's part of the deal with Singed. You cannot always kill him as easily as you think, but now Splyce, they're looking to make the dive on to Faxi. Oh, he knows the jig is up right now. He gets a taunt back in, but he's going to have to burn his flash. Can he stay alive long enough? No, I don't think so. Maxlor was there for the defense, but 3 will always beat 2, and the collateral damage just looks like it tickled Wonder.
That was a clean break from Splyce on the top side. Now we go to bottom side, but will it open up?
Curtain call, it's on Widid. Yarnan's gonna be the one blocking this time. He tanks the 3rd shot. The chains are on. Glacial Fissure's up, but Kabi did not want to fight any further. Nope. So they disengage.
Didn't want anything else from that. ROCCAT did have a bunch of damage still to output from Hjanen, but on that top dive, nice use of the fling by Wonder to make sure he burns the taunt from Faxi and force the flash after it. Just so that Faxi couldn't get down away from the tower, because that's where Maxlor was coming from. Maxlor was trying to regroup from them and Splyce isolate him, pull him out on his own.
Faxi himself still trying to work towards his first items. He's only sitting on the Tiamat and the Spectre's Cowl right now. Not a whole lot of defense, not a huge amount of pushing power for the Shen. He needs to wait until he finishes his Hydra to make that happen. Wonder himself, he of course has the Swifties completed, so he moves a little faster right now as he's on to the mid. He flips Betsy. The goo comes a little too late. The command shockwave lands, and now Betsy's got a Shen shield on him, but they burst right through it, and Wonder is gonna make it out again.
It's so frustrating to play up against the Singed that is able to get out, but Mickey did die in the process. Splyce still coming out ahead. Oh, Wonder's got to be careful. Faxi, he's got a Tiamat here. Faxi doesn't want to take this fight.
No, Wonder, he's just trying to run circles right now, and he flips right into Trashy. Foxy didn't realize the jungler was right behind. He's going to have to shadow dash, but the leap, Trashy says, you aren't going nowhere.
Oh, by the time Faxi realized he could have killed him, he had left him long enough for Trashy to get there. That is painful, painful for Faxi in the top lane.
It's rough. I mean, for a newer LCS player, I can see it happening, but you can't second guess yourself like that. Let's take a look at this fight again.
Yeah, this is the engage in mid and how deceptively tanky Singed actually ends up being. So Betsy trades his life, and then Wonder runs away on 200 health, runs into a top lane Shen with full health, and the Singed wins with a little assist from the Kazakhs.
That's what they call jebaited. So Wonder was making it happen right there. He's still cooling down on his Ghost, a little low on the health bars, but Faxi just doesn't have the kill pressure to make it happen. Checking in with items across the board as well. For Splyce, Senkux has got his Trinity Force completed now, so he's hitting a pretty happy power spike. Not to mention Trashy sitting pretty on 3 kills. On the other side, Betsy has had his Merlinomicon for a little while, and he also has his Sork shoes available. But they need to get out of here right now. Trashy's coming, and so is the teleport. Mickey collapsing around the side. They look for Maxlore. A big shockwave right into range of the tower, but they flip Maxlore over. That's still shut down onto Trashy. Big gold coming in for Betsy, but it's a trade of jungles right now. Oh, what didn't Betsy? Way too low. The shot splits the uprights. And ROCCAT stay alive.
No conversion on that one for Cobby on the 4th hit, but Splyce, as we were coming up to the 15-minute mark, it was looking better for them, but they go right into the shockwave for Betsy and end up playing right into the jaws of near defeat at that point. But Splyce able to maintain a lead for now. The stat you saw on your screen just a moment ago, 1.6k gold, was from game 1 in this series between Splyce and ROCCAT. It was the largest lead Splyce have had in 6 games. They haven't been able to do the same here in game 2. Despite Wonder wanting to get as much of a lead as he can in the top lane.
I think he's doing all right. He looked a little low. There are a few champions you can do that on when you are effectively almost dead to your opponent. But it's always deceptive with Singed. And Mickey was a little bit low himself in the bottom side, but Yarnan couldn't find the finishing shot. Maxlore now coming up to the top to try and even these odds.
Yeah, so is
Trashy. Wonder, he realizes he might be in trouble. He's got his Ghost on, but it is a little slower this time. He's going to get taken down, and Trashy arrives too late.
There's always one play too many, isn't there? But here's the danger. Here is where Graves' jungle really succeeds, is you can get 1 kill, move right up to a tower, and look, Splyce cannot react yet. Trashy is trying. Senkux shoved out mid to try and respond to this, and now Mickey is coming up, and that forces ROCCAT back away. Just the sheer threat of pushing from ROCCAT in the top side has dragged everybody up there, and it's all a fake. It's ROCCAT pushing bottom side with their AD carry that is going to look to get the most amount of tower damage for now.
Yeah. So Cobby's there to defend and push back, but they still get tower damage. Worth noting, we're 16 and a half into this game, and we haven't seen a tower fall just yet. There have been a couple sneaky moves around the map, a couple of gank attempts that have gone south, a couple succeeded, but it just hasn't been enough to get a tower. Yarnan and Wood down on this bottom side. They had some damage on the tower, but they've not been able to secure the tower first blood just yet. Trashy up in the top. He walks right through the ward, but there is no vision.
You don't spot him out. Got an easy passage through the top side. Well, Trashy, he is right in behind. Wonder whether he's heading. Looks like he's going mid, but there is a shockwave. Oh no, shockwave just got used on the minions. No.
No.
I just saw it cooling down. Sorry.
We got baited by the spectator.
I got baited. The shockwave icon cooled down twice, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, so Trashy's actually decided he's going to go up top. They've ganked the Shen before, and it's worked out. Let's see if they can do it again. Wonder's leading a big wave of minions, and that tower's pretty low. Here they come.
It's not quite as exciting, and now they just walk away.
Don't even need to attack.
Got it.
Yeah.
That was what they were looking for.
That was a great
They just wanted to let Faxi know they could gank.
Maxlore's here though too, so I just want to make it. This is the quietest 2v2.
This is a weird game so far. We've got a Singed, we've got like a Kha'Zix that's just running through.
We've got an Orianna doing lots and lots of damage, by the way, but it might die. The package special delivery. Betsy's gonna have the Shen shield on, so Faxi has to get out of there.
Oh, and now they turn on Maxlore. Hang on.
Excuse me. That's Wonder moving forward for Senkux. And Maxlore, he's going to be caught out.
No,
he sends
Maxlore.
the collateral and the flash, but they flip him right back in. And Senkux with his 3rd of the game.
Gotta go fast build coming out from Wonder with that righteous glory.
I love this build, by the way. You do a really ridiculous speed up, and no one expects you to go that fast.
It's silly.
Even with nerfed Ghost, it's still
very
awesome.
silly. When you get to that full acceleration,
Yeah.
However, mid tower did just get traded.
That's true. They got something for it.
This time for ROCCAT, this is a little more beneficial than in the last game. ROCCAT came out ahead because they took an inner in game 1. ROCCAT with Orianna have defended damage on their mid tower for the entire game so far. So it's not like Splyce can go mid now and equalize that mid tower trade. But equalizing a lot of distance here from Wonder. Pops the Ghost. Righteous Glory. You're going nowhere, Maxlor.
Yeah, in fact, he was just trying to get back up top because he'd already gone down to defend the Orianna. And it was a nice reaction from Splyce to realize, oh, well, there's not going to be a Shen up top. We can maybe make a move here. Faxi now, he's going to be pushing away. And is that a Raptor Cloak I spy on Wonder?
I was about to say exactly the same thing, Devin. That is a Raptor Cloak.
Yeah.
Are we going?
We're going to be deploying the portal soon enough. I mean, we're almost 20 minutes into this game. I think it's about time to get that side push. And you talked about how Splyce want to be sitting in the side lanes and forcing ROCCAT to react. It's easier to do that with the ZZ Rot portal.
Yeah. And we saw Huni when with a similar build based off ZZ Rot and the Righteous Glory for SKT. Of course, when it's SKT, you've got to look at it. Was it the build and Huni, or was it just the fact that they're really good at the game?
I think it's impressive they've gotten Huni to play tanks, in all honesty.
Singed is the kind of tank that I'm pretty sure Huni settles into.
He's been playing other stuff,
but
too.
It's kind of the same for Wonder. Wonder is the kind of player that likes to at least have a little bit of fun on his champions. He used to play a whole lot of Akali.
He played a lot of strange stuff. I mean, he was one of the first to bring out Talia in the European LCS. And as a top laner, he's still probably one of the only ones to play it. Oh, Glacial Fissure is dodged just by Maxlor, and now Trashy's there.
Here
but here comes Wonder once again. The shockwave was a little bit late and didn't land on everybody, but now Maxlor Faxi in some trouble. Splyce, however, they're low health bars, and what did is looking to pick up a kill himself. It's Senkux, though, that finds the first onto Maxlor. The curtain call opens up to try and cover Trashy's escape, but Betsy is having none of it, and he doesn't secure the kill. It is a 1-for-1 after all that.
Betsy looking for a bit of a greedy play going forward, not protecting Wadid, but Wadid had his dancing shoes on, was able to dodge out of the rest of the curtain call. Splyce a bit of an overcommit following the footsteps of Singed. I know don't chase Singed is normally for the opponents, but maybe this time it's Splyce that shouldn't be chasing in with their Singed at all times, because that led them straight into danger.
He's so good that he baits his teammates and his opponents, it looks like. Let's take a look at the fight again. It looks good with the collapse around the side, but ROCCAT held firm. Yeah,
they tagged Maxlor with the Winter's Bite first, couldn't quite follow it up for the stun, and a good shockwave out from Betsy, and a great taunt in this fight from Faxi to deny so much of what Splyce were offering there. Senkux finally picks up the kill on Maxlor, and from here, Betsy says, you're a support. I'm just going to let them try and hit you with curtain call, trying to pick up the kill. What it was fine in the end of all things. Had shields, had some fancy footwork.
Yes, he did. A familiar sound up in the top lane. Means Wonder is back at it again, farming away. It's the flip off, but Faxi's actually got the taunt. He's dishing some damage now that he's finally... Well, he's staying alive, Heather. I was about to say he's completed some items. I'm like, well, no. He's actually only completed Spirit Visage, but he's working his way.
It'll do. It'll do for now against Wonder. He did just stop Wonder's recall.
Yes, he did.
Wonder will be a little annoyed at that. Has nearly enough to complete ZZ Rot portal.
He gets his ultimate on, just continues to push the waves. Not a whole lot of action for junglers up in this top side. Maxlor was thinking about maybe going up there, but it's not going to be the case. A lot of wards in this top jungle of ROCCAT as well, and in their bot. They're trying to keep a lot of tabs on if any Splyce members are going to be making moves inside that map, but Splyce are more interested in this bottom turret, and they might just get it. Yeah,
well, they have the package here, so they've beaten them to the punch. ROCCAT are trying to regroup, but it's not going to be fast enough to stop the tower going down. And here it is. On Wonder. CC Rot portal.
We got it completed. Let's see where he ends up laying. The Dragon has not been a big objective this game. 23 minutes in. Because it's an ocean once again. Sometimes the RNG just makes it that way.
Yeah.
But Trashy can pick this one up for free. You can see Splyce concentrating their efforts towards this bottom side of the map, pushing deeper into territory of ROCCAT.
Wonder
put
it smack bang in the mid lane.
No one expects
Didn't hide it. Unashamedly mid lane with the ZZ Rot portal.
If you put it down there, it's about sending the message. Well, you can't kill this.
The message is that... Oh, look at that damage.
Yeah, it's big. It's another one.
Got him. Of course, this was one of the changes to the ZZ Rot minions.
Another one.
The tower damage is fairly significant. Changed some of the range on how far the minions run. It's not the same as the old one that used to kind of run the entire range of the map.
They cleared it away. That's sad.
It's because Wonder's up in the top lane. He's pushing that back.
Yeah, he doesn't care anymore. Fax is going to be up there as well. Look at how many wards that Splyce have actually now put into this jungle. While they were pushing on mid, they actually got quite a lot. So ROCCAT are going to be hard-pressed, and this inner turret in the bottom is going to be fired down by Senkux. He's got the most minions, but look who's waiting in the wings. Trashy's there to see if he can get a pick off.
Yeah, Senkux is pretty strong right now. Has that Gunblade, a very strong 2-item spike coming through. Not the Infinity Edge route that we've seen other people go for. This one kind of gives him an even more surprising amount of damage that comes through on these 2 items. Very difficult to trade against. And Betsy's down in the bottom lane, trying to come across to mid because Hjarnan is having a touch of trouble to defend this. You can see Splyce are looking to dive. Wadid is there. They're trying to get this mid tower, and Splyce, if they can't get it, they're going to get stalled out in the game.
But this is the win condition we were talking about. They want to go in the side lanes, but they also want to make sure they have enough power to push down the mid. So they have pushing lanes in their favor all across the map, and it does seem like ROCCAT are scrambling a bit for the time being. But if they can't hold this turret, that speaks volumes for them. Yeah,
if ROCCAT can, it denies so much of Splyce's ability to get into their jungle. You can see Trashy can come this far, but that ward gets easily cleared off because there's 3 members of ROCCAT. Trashy has no idea how many people are there. He has to be around in case Senkux ends up getting taken apart by a ROCCAT. It just means that Splyce can't push further and further with Wonder and Senkux until this mid tower dies. And Wonder has his ZZ Rot available again. Throws it at mid lane. This is Cannon minion now as well. So this first ZZ Rot minion, as well as the Cannon minion, should have done a lot, but
they stopped Wonder. Chains of Corruption. Mickey was there to block for him right now, but he's a little bit low. He's going to be able to ult and walk away for now. ROCCAT have responded.
Good use of the ultimate by Maxlaw. Just clears the minion wave away, denies what should have been a tricky hold for them. And topside, they've got a tower from Faxi as well. So good response from ROCCAT to punish this Splyce team. Splyce, without the package, haven't been able to go aggressive behind the tower. Here comes the curtain call.
They do open up on Maxlaw. He flashes the second shot, but right into Senkux. He's got a shield on. See if he can stay alive. And Kabi says, no, you can't. That'll be the mid tower finally. ROCCAT, the pushback.
Yeah, finally it gets taken down by Splyce as they go aggressive. Maxlaw took too much damage and couldn't stay alive. And all they needed was that 1 kill. At the moment where Hjarnan and Betsy weren't both available to defend, gives Splyce the tower kill. And now it's going to get more difficult for ROCCAT to hold on. Because every time they try and move through the jungle, Corki's going to come at them, Trashy's going to come at them. Maybe the Singed runs halfway across the map, does the marathon, flings somebody and ends up getting the kill. Very difficult to actually read where Splyce is going to be coming from.
Yeah, ROCCAT, it seems like their game plan is going to be, if they can't hold these lanes, they're going to have to try and force fights, but Splyce seem to be controlling the pace of it without overstepping. It seems to be a little ROCCAT can really do right now. But we got to check in with what they've got available to themselves. Maxlaw has his Edge of Night. He's got some serious damage. We've seen this build on a number of European junglers playing this champion really come up huge, but he needs a little bit more time, it seems. The Orianna, I mean, honestly, that's doing a huge amount of work for Betsy. He's making big plays on it, but the shockwave is so crucial. They need to bait multiple Splyce members in, and it seems like Splyce are not falling for that jungle choke anymore.
And the difficulty is Senkux is just having more impact. As much impact and as good as Betsy has been in this game, like, Senkux is doing more. Look, they've already chunked Maxlaw down again, and Senkux with 1 big one over the wall, if he can kind of aim it right, can pick off Maxlaw, but doesn't have it available. It's just about clearing the jungle out. Take away the buffs, take away as much as they can. Hjarnan couldn't get the blue buff there. And Splyce will continue to assume control.
It's smart League of Legends from Splyce right now. They're just playing this one out about as cleanly as they can. The composition, you know, maybe threw a little bit of a curveball, but that's what picks like this Singed can definitely do. Faxi's still able to trade a little bit, but it's going to be hard for him to finish it off on his own, and there's no one that can really join the party.
Yeah, and this is just going to be rinse and repeat every time things are available in the jungle. This Splyce will assimilate the jungle from ROCCAT, and honestly, resistance at that point is fairly futile. They don't quite catch on with the chains. That's another big tool defensively used by ROCCAT that didn't hit the mark.
Not enough for them right now. ROCCAT desperately trying to get a game win. They've not been able to find too many this split so far. Senkux goes back forward, and it's a flash out by Hjarnan. The wave isn't there to keep pushing this right now, but Senkux just doesn't care. Exhaust is on. Maybe he should now as Faxi has the Stand United. Trashy tags in to take out Hjarnan, but they might leave Senkux for dead. No, the redemption saves his life. Faxi's caught between 3, and they turn around to cut off MaxFlor. Wonder is just making this a party, and ROCCAT don't want any of this fiesta. Knocked up, taken out, Trashy with the 5th kill of the game. ZZ Rod right in the middle of it all. Wonder's just rushing to push them away from this tower.
The ZZ Rod actually just gets insta-killed by the tower. And ROCCAT, they tried to fight. They leave Hyanan on his own. Trashy jumps through. Senkux isn't done.
Whoa. 404. That's not found for Senkux this game, and it's going to be Splyce starting on this Baron.
Yeah, it's going to easy Baron take for Splyce, and at this point we're getting to the point where Splyce are wrapping this game up. We talked about it in game 1. Average Baron power plays for them is normally pretty high, 5,479. Well, the clock started on another.
Let's take a look at it again. MaxFlor, I mean, looked like he might have been able to pick up Senkux, but
the exhaust does so much work as it denies MaxFlor. Then Mickey comes in for the block. Great block. Wonder comes through as well. Redemption heals Senkux up, and there's no real threat once Wonder runs in that MaxFlor can kill anybody.
Yeah, and then Faxi just gets slowly beat down to death. Not a lot he can do. Wonder with the manner, ZZ Rod, that just gets insta-killed by the time. I mean, to be fair, it absorbed a shot meant for a minion, so it was a little easier. Wonder's back to the scene of the crime.
One minion.
That's worth. I don't care what you say, that's worth stress. And not only that, they have a lot of damage on their side, but between Wonder and the fact that Trashy has also got himself a Steris gauge, they have a fair amount of tankiness. Mickey X has been pretty huge in using this redemption to keep people alive, most notably Senkux down at the bottom, who's now pushing with the package. Yeah,
pushing through, looking for another tower, has Trashy in support. This is where Kha'Zix has a really good effect, and this is what Trashy did very well when Splyce were running 1-3-1 comps all the way through summer, like they've been trying. Trashy supporting the lanes, and he's able to do it effectively on this pick here.
Yeah, and he's also been able to pick off kills for himself that have allowed him to get a lot of that gold, get a lot of those items to be a bigger threat.
Yeah, absolutely. And Senkux, every time he gets to the tower, is able to get damage down. Wonder, not concerned with damage on the tower yet. More concerned with just denying Faxi the ability to clear out the wave. But now Wonder's going to come for mid. Hyanan's out of position in mid.
Oh boy, could be the big one right there. Yarnan's taken out, and Wonder lets the poison finish the job. As he was preoccupied with the minions on the inhibitor turret, that's going to be a tower taken down. 31 minutes. Well, it looks like it is going to be the big Baron power play. That's another tower down. Bot Senkux with the last of the minions gets it, and he's free time on the inhibitor. And now Trashy and Wonder are causing havoc here as a big shot from Senkux means that MaxFlor Betsy would did. Even Faxi can't stay alive.
Senkux is so far ahead in his mind that he is behind the team. Splyce pushing through for another inhibitor. In game 1, they averaged over 3K on the Baron power play, not quite the 5K that we were talking about. This one's going to be a big one because they've taken down 2 inhibitor towers. They've taken down an outer tower. They got kills. Splyce, they're in full control to end this game.
Easy peasy. The last thing to do is to take down the top, and that's the laundry list. Senkux even confident they can take up a couple tower shots. Maybe you shouldn't have been, but he gets out alive anyways. Wonder not needing to respect the ball. There's going to be a redemption coming in for Mickey X to keep them healthy. The ZZ Rod is right behind him, and so are the Baron-empowered minions. ROCCAT looking to make a last stand, but Trashy and Faxi are a little occupied. They missed the memo on mid. That'll be the end of the push for now. Splyce realizing that they maybe can't end it just yet.
Splyce have 40 seconds left on their Baron buff. They're going to reset. Look to try and push in without that buff after the recall, going back to make sure that they could heal up. Hyanan, you could see he was out of position just on the mini-map alone, and Wonder, that's why he backed away from the fight with Faxi. He knew that he could just run in with the Righteous Glory, pick up that kill, and that was easy to spot even on the mini-map. And ROCCAT just did not react. Hyanan didn't have his flash available.
And Faxi, the Stand United was nice. It came obviously a second or two later than Hyanan would have liked, but it wasn't going to be enough.
Nope.
When your AD carry is isolated like that against this late game damage threat, just not going to happen. And Kabi just opened up the curtain call, did most of the work, and well, Wonder stole the kill, but that'll happen with poison.
And this series really, like, Hyanan in the late game, his positioning has been really suspect. I've not really been too impressed with Hyanan's safe, in air quotes, positioning in fights. He has died too many times in the late game for my liking. But
continues to be a thorn in ROCCAT's side right now.
It feels like it's a symptom of ROCCAT just being so far behind that he feels like he has to wave clear. Every time it seems to come from some sense of wave clear. And he steps forward, somebody cuts in through the side, flings him or locks him down. and just takes him out. And after that, ROCCAT just cannot fight.
ROCCAT are not going to have a whole lot of minions to contend with either as well. ZZ Rot portal inside the base now for Splyce. 33.5 minutes in, they have a 10k gold lead. They're looking to take down the last of the inhibitor towers as Wonder flips Wadid right into the rest of them. Yarden trying to make a play. Wadid's not going to live through it though as Trashy comes in to finish the job, but a big shockwave will mean a shutdown. Maxlor manages to get a kill onto Trashy. It's a 1-for-1 so far, but Faxi a little too low. Redemption coming in. Wonder, Kabi, Mickey all low, but they're healed up, and Senkux is threatening on the front side. They stop Maxlor up as well in the back. A long-range deadly flourish. The minions will be coming soon enough, but once again, Splyce are going to reset, and ROCCAT have to lick their wounds.
Yeah, sloppy fight for Splyce as they came into that one. Keanu will take out the ZZ Rot to stop it before he gets the next tower. They're on the inhibitor tower again.
Betsy bringing Faxi there. There's a flash, and he dodges out of the shadow dash. Mickey a little bit low. Getting away from the end of the line. A lot of missed skill shots here for ROCCAT. Wonder is still moving in the mid. Unperturbed by the events up top.
He just TP'd back in here as well. Wonder recalled out, got his health back, TP's back to try and make sure he's pushing mid out at the same time. And Wonder did a good job in that last fight of resetting what ROCCAT were doing, because he dragged 3 people back away from the fight. It allowed Splyce to settle themselves, take down the next tower. Now they're going to recall out 45 seconds before Elder Drake, and there's almost no way that ROCCAT can really look to contend that. And that goes back to back into a Baron in 1 minute 20.
Yeah, Splyce playing this out very smart, not pushing their advantage, or pushing their advantage, but not pushing their luck, I should say, too hard against this ROCCAT team. A couple of sloppy fights maybe, but this is so far a lot better of the macro that we have expected from Splyce coming into this season. Trashy just says, thank you very much, I'm going to steal away your red buff now, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
And ROCCAT, things just keep getting worse right now.
And we've had the question answered, Devin. We were asking, was it going to be the Singed that looks like he's doing nothing and just running around, or would it be the terrorizing Singed that we've seen from Looper?
He's having a good
couple
game.
of other players. Well, it certainly is the terrorizing Singed. He has been doing things with style in this game, as Wonder. And that's an Elder Drake start for Splyce. ROCCAT being held back by this Singed almost single-handedly.
Not able to turn in and contest this Elder Drake. Most of the advantage will be from the burn it gets, but they've opened up the curtain call, and Betsy was flipped. He just dodges one, flashes for second, gets a shockwave, but it won't be nearly enough damage as Senkux claims his 5th kill of the game. Still hasn't died.
Splyce take down the Elder Drake. Don't even look for the Baron, which is about to spawn. It was 4.7k on their last Baron power play. The next one will be fairly slow because it would mean the end of the game, but Splyce wants to end this one quick. They're going to try and look to push in for the win. ZZ Rot portals down.
Yeah, who needs a Baron when you've got portals? ROCCAT trying to push back. Trashy takes a little bit of chunk damage, but Wonder is getting a flip right at fountain level here, and he's pushed them all the way back as they take one Nexus turret, eyeballing the second. Wonder's a little bit low, but he's regenning health all through it all. Inhibitor comes right back up, but there's still a couple down here. Faxi's gonna get locked up and taken down by Trashy. Redemption comes in. Splyce are getting ready for round 2 as they take down one inhibitor, look to fire down on the last Nexus turret, and there's little ROCCAT can do.
Yeah, Splyce thinking with portals. They don't want a number 3 to this series. They're going to end the game.
GG, well played, and don't even lose a man at the last. Splyce take the 2-0 victory to move forward. Not much you can say about it, to be honest. Splyce played that one out well, executed the composition the way they needed to do it.
That was so much closer to what Splyce did in the summer split, the style that they were playing in the summer split, pushing the 3 lanes and getting the win. That's what Splyce did well over summer.
Yeah, it's nice to see them get back to what made them successful, and they found a way to make it work within the meta. We talked about Trashy not necessarily being comfortable with playing these carry junglers, but in both of these games, he did what he needed to do by enabling the other carries and being a threat in and of himself because he could just pick off any isolated target.
Yeah, honestly, I liked the entire comp from Splyce. I liked the setup. There were safe aspects, there were some riskier aspects with the Singe just in general, but Splyce, they can be happy. 2-0 on the week. It was what they needed, really, to kind of get that jet fuel up through their standings, maybe get them safer heading towards playoffs, and I don't think they're in too much danger of missing out on a playoff spot.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Another win here, and a convincing one at that, kind of cements their position as that, third place playoff qualifying team out of Group B. picking up some crucial wins, not only against Fnatic a few days ago, but against ROCCAT now. They could be pretty happy. This was a much cleaner performance overall, and definitely getting back to their roots.
Yeah. You can see Yamato and Senkux talking. Senkux is saying, but I pushed I was 5-0-6. I was 5-0-6. Everybody's going to look at this game and be like, yeah, but Singed pushed everything.
Might have something to do with us talking about it all the time. But I mean, Senkux, he was kind of playing exactly how he needed to, considering he was down about 40 CS or so to the Orianna, who, by the way, in the early game was doing a whole lot of work as well. I mean, you got to hand it to him for making the big plays when it counted.
ROCCAT, they seem to have improved on a couple of things. Utilizing that push in the mid lane was fairly good from ROCCAT. But every time they went for the play, it was just a little slow. Like, they have the right ideas, and they're moving in the right direction.
But the execution's not quite there.
Not quite there. It's fixable problems, though, which is like good for a team when you can say, okay, these are our weaknesses, this is where we went wrong, and this is how we fix it.
Yeah.
You can watch how the best teams are doing it, whether that's G2 and Unicorns, if you can learn from the Unicorn style.
That last match, I'm not sure. But
or whether you're looking at LCK and seeing how they start those dives. Those are fixable problems. And
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any reason why ROCCAT can't maybe start nipping at the heels of Giants in their group.
I think that's fair.
If they can improve.
I think that's fair. They definitely have a lot to work on, but as you mentioned, there are things that are very identifiable. And, they can beat out teams like Origin. They can possibly beat out teams like Giants and Vitality. We'll see if that's the case.
Yeah, we shall see. I want to hear from Splyce, though.
I do want to hear from Splyce. We'll see now. Daniel Draco, standing by with the Sassy Singe to hear more about that 2-0.
Thank you very much, Pyra. I don't know if sassy is the best way to describe Singed. I'm curious to define that later. But for now, tell me about the Singed pick, because it's not something we've seen a whole ton of in Europe, a little bit in the challenger scene. Why did Splyce pick up Singed today?
So the reason I want to play Singed is mostly because they banned like a lot of champs that are good into Shen, right? So I just I fell back on the Singed, and it's mostly because it can push the wave and make sure that Shen can't really use his global to really impact the map. And I can like kind of proxy him and rotate myself before he has to before he can ult and he has to clear a wave or something like that, right? So I think Singed is, I mean, I wouldn't call it a top tier pick, but it's definitely something I like to toy around with because I think it has potential, right? So, I mean, I tried it this game and it went pretty well.
Yeah, definitely I saw you spamming some emotes there at the end, so clearly having a pretty good game overall. Now, 2-0 coming in here up against ROCCAT. There were a few moments where it didn't look too clean. You guys didn't look 100% coordinated. How did you feel about the series overall, not just the Singed?
I think the first game I misplayed a bit in my lane. I wanted to play it a bit different than usually and try to get more bases in. I think that led to me not having the most pressure I could have had. Generally, I think they were really decisive in the first game with the Shen, and they executed a dive on bot. Even though we managed to ace them, it's still a good initiative by them, and I think it paid off a bit at least. So, I mean, they were pretty solid today, and I think we didn't play bad, but I don't think we pushed our limits too much either.
Okay, so looking forward, of course, you guys have won both of your series thus far this week, but in the future, do you think that you guys can move up to that second place position, or are you pretty set in third place for now?
I mean, I hope we can improve a lot in this IM week where we have a lot of scrims. I think we can, it mostly depends on our matchups against HUK and Unicorns of Love, of course, and I think for now, at least from what I've seen, the other group looks stronger, and I think if we can win against some of the, maybe G2, get a lucky win there, then I think we are pretty settled and maybe in a good spot for second or first. But until then, I don't know. In the current state we are, I don't think we are at better team than HUK or Unicorns.
Okay, well, talking about current state, kind of as a final question here, what is the next big focus point when it comes to improving Splyce?
Well, I think mostly we just have to be a bit more decisive. I think we have worked a lot on it, especially also in these games. I think when we manage to dive on a lot of towers and stuff like that, I think we should. Our main work, our main problem is probably that we don't push our limits enough on stage, and I think that we are working towards it, but we are not quite there yet.
All right, well, I'm excited to see how that develops in the weeks to come. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and congrats again on the win. But for now, we're going to send it back to Shox at the analyst desk to break down that series.
Thank you, Dracos. Nice words there from Wonder. And it is what we've heard from Splyce the last couple of weeks. We have to learn how to push our limits a bit more, to accelerate a bit more, because we're not completely comfortable with the way things are gelling or communicating for now. So I think that's a good one. And 2-0 in the week is going to help.
Yeah, I think it's important that they're also trying to make new picks happen, like the Singed, like in preparation for playoffs. If the meta stays very stale or there's a lot of tank players, a lot of Shen priority, having the Singed in your back pocket can always help you. I think what he said was also on point in terms of like decisiveness. We saw a lot of engages where Splyce as a team were pulling the trigger, but then it wasn't as clean, it wasn't as refined. There was a little bit delay in target selection, a couple of skill shots going wide. Like Mickey was trying to make things happen, the team was following up a fraction too late. But you could definitely see that this was a working point, and there was at least improvement.
Yeah, definitely. If we look at the individual performances of Splyce, what have you seen this week?
I think it's kind of hit and miss. There's just a couple scenarios where if they just land a few skill shots more, or actually hold an ability a little longer, they can make a far greater impact in the game. Trashy on Kha'Zix comes to mind. A couple of his jumps are, in my opinion, a little early, especially on the ganks. The follow-up on Mickey could have maybe been a little bit better, like some ultimates, some W's from the Jhin, but that's nitpicking. But if you want to start challenging these top teams, you need to fight them and kind of, yeah, you can set yourself up for victory, but you also need to outperform them in those fights.
And luckily, those are also things, if they look at the VOD, that, you know, this could be an off day, you know that they have the ability to hit those skill shots. So what does that come down to? Because you know you can, usually you hit them, so why don't you hit them versus ROCCAT?
Yeah, well, if it's not versus ROCCAT, you could be like, well, my enemy is, of course, so bad that he,
okay.
if he was a better player, he would have gotten hit by the skill shots. That is the excuse I usually use. If this guy was good, he would have obviously juked into it. But I don't know, it's consistency. It's comfort on stage, and it's really hard to explain to people when fans ask like, what's so different? Just get the same chair, get the same desk height.
Mouse, get the same keyboard, yeah.
It's actually a different keyboard, for example, right? Because the sponsors send in new keyboards for the players to be used in the stage. Maybe they play at home with a slightly more worn down keyboard, a slightly more worn down mouse. Like when the mouse cables, they don't bend as much when they're just out of the packaging. So it's all these little things that can influence a player, and you really get in your own head. And that is something I think a lot of fans have a hard time relating to because they've never been in that position. It can also be temperature, height, noise, the white noise playing with you, different settings that you're not really used to kind of configuring. All these little things add up and they make you uneasy. When you're uneasy, you don't have the courage to really go somewhere in these highlight plays.
And do these things that you do when you're chill in your gaming chair in the gaming house and practicing. Let's round it up then. Splyce, this week hasn't really changed, I think, the opinion of Splyce. They are still inconsistent. They almost lost that series versus Fnatic. They have stuff to work on. Playoffs, yes, and that's about all we can say.
Playoffs, yes. They're a tier 2 team, like a significant like margin still between them and H2K and Unicorns of Love. The same way Fnatic is, in my opinion, below Misfits and G2.
All right, and ROCCAT?
And ROCCAT, they're struggling for the title of the worst team in LCS with Origin, who we'll see next.
Oh, all right. Well, we are going to go on cooldown as we prepare for our final matchup of the week, Fnatic versus Origin. See you in 3.5.
Betsy, the goop comes a little too late. The command shockwave lands, and now Betsy's got a Shen shield on him, but they burst right through it, and Wonder is gonna make it out again. Wonder, he's just trying to run circles right now, and he flips right into Trashy. Foxy didn't realize the jungler was right behind. He's gonna have to shadow dash, but the leap Trashy says, you aren't going nowhere. To open up on Maxlore, he flashes the second shot, but right into Sencooks, he's got a shield on, see if he can stay alive, and Kabi says, no, you can't. Exhaust is on, maybe he should now, as Maxi has the Stand United. Trashy tags in to take out Yarden.
They don't want a number 3 to this series. They're gonna end the game.
GG, well played, and don't even lose a man at the last. Splyce take the 2-0 victory to move forward.